the recorder's on. We're going to get started. The meeting of the Furnace and Construction Board for December the 10th, 2020. We're now on. We're going to begin today's meeting by a roll call. My name is Raymond Malone, Chairman of the Furnace Board, Furnace and Construction Board. I'm going to ask if you would give us the name of the organization in which you represent. Anyone other than the board, you will mute your mic.
Joseph Maven, Minority Contractors Association.
Bridget Williams, Heavy Constructors Association.
Bob Lohman, Mechanical Contractors Association.
Welcome, Bob.
Kara McGreevy, National Association of Women in Construction and WCOE.
Welcome, Kara.
Thank you.
Kara, we're so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Gabe
You
Perez,
might not be after this meeting.
I've been listening in for a year.
Gabe Perez, KCMO, Hispanic Contractors. Welcome aboard, sir.
Welcome, Gabe.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
I
that
think we
gives
do
us
have
a
one
quorum.
more. I think we have one more member.
We have
on.
another board member. We have another board member present.
Okay, I thought I saw Ms. Carpentry
Hi,
on.
yeah, Sonia Garapati. I'm also here with NAVIC and WCOE.
Okay, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to start off.
This is the most
Welcome.
women we've ever had.
Yes, we're in trouble.
Yep.
Welcome, ladies. Those of you who are new and those of you who have been with us for a while, I hope that you enjoy the meeting. Any questions that you might have as we go along, just state your name and feel free to express what's on your mind. There will only be one vote from each organization as we get into the voting process, but anyone who's present representing an organization, you can be free to ask questions. Okay, with that in mind, hopefully you have received the agenda, and in our agenda, we're going to move right on down the line, and we're going to ask for approval or changes to the November meeting. Those of you, if you've read the meetings, I'll entertain a motion or changes. If there are no changes, I'll entertain a motion to the November meeting minute.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved by Bob Lohman and second by Gabe Perez to approve and second the minutes. For the purposes for this meeting, and from now on, I'm asking each one of you, as you make a motion, as you vote, if you will state your name, please, for the record. Thank you. It's been moved and second to accept the minutes as written. All in favor? By name?
Aye.
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 By name.
Oh, Bridget,
By
aye.
name.
Aye,
Gabe
Don
Perez.
Greenwell, aye.
Lohman, aye.
Do you want me to
Okay.
vote since I wasn't
Raymond
a
Malone,
member?
aye. No, if you weren't a member, you cannot attest to it. That
Yep.
was 4 members. That requires a even number. As the chairman of the board, whenever there's a even number of votes, I break the tie by or adding to the quorum by voting. I voted yes, yay. Okay, with that in mind, once again, as the chair, when we have a full board, members all are present. If there becomes a tie, I will break that tie by adding my vote. Are there any questions? Okay, we're going to move right on into the recommended projects for today. And we're going to turn this presentation over to Tom Randolph for the projects for today. Mr. Randolph.
Project number 1, 98008711 East 63rd Street Reconstruction, $7,100,000. And this project is being presented by the Public Works Department. Is Mr. Sands on the line?
I am.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you for the time today. Last month, this aligned with a furlough day for me, so I apologize for not being here to explain the project. Mark Montgomery stepped in and was able to, I think, communicate some of the details. I know last month there was some extended conversation about this project, so I want to make sure I address all the concerns that were brought up. It's a design build project targeted at, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I thought there was someone. It's a design build project with the goal of reconstructing 63rd Street from Woodland Avenue to Prospect Avenue. The roadway structure has a lot of fundamental foundation problems. And so the main purpose of the construction would be to kind of rebuild the roadway from the ground up. Aside from the roadway structure, we'd be looking at sidewalk repair, and curb and gutter repair as needed. The roadway right now is a 5-lane section. We're looking at keeping it probably that width with the 71 highway right there and the traffic that goes off to Paseo. It's a pretty heavily traveled corridor. The hospital's right there, so there's a lot of reason to, lots of ADT, lots of volume on that roadway. I think last month there was some conversation about the lump sum of the construction portion. The main idea there, the main part of the project being a design build is to try to get some creativity into basically addressing so much pavement section with our budget. So to try to maximize that and get what we can, we're looking for a lot of creative ideas, and that's again kind of the reason for going with design build. Inside that reconstruction, you could have asphalt. It could be proposed as concrete. Maybe not all the curbs redone, some of the curbs. So it's kind of a general kind of pavement reconstruction for that portion of the project. We're real excited about the project. There's a great opportunity to partner with Smart Sewer on this and look at a lot of green infrastructure solutions. So excited to make that partnership and just kind of get the project going. But with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you want to present to the city?
Yes, the project leader has a MBE goal of 15 and 8, and HRD is recommending 15 and 9 with work in the areas of geotechnical, drilling, demolition on the M side, excuse me, and on the W side, design, concrete reconstruction, signage, striping, and traffic control for 9%. We found some similar projects. We found one with Fahey Construction Company that is closed. The goals were 13 and 7, and it achieved 16 and 8 with work in trucking, sewer work, and concrete. We found another project, surface designated Missouri River, and the goals were 10 and 5, and it achieved 12 and 6 with work in the area of concrete, asphalt, street sweeping. And we found a third one, 68th Street sidewalks. The goals were 15 and 10, and it achieved 13 and 9 with work in the areas of erosion control and sodding. That's what I have on that project.
Thomas, if I could add one more thing, I'm sorry to. I'm noticing an error there. It's probably my fault. The project number, I think the 8 and the 9 are switched around. It should be 8-9 instead of 9-8. I don't know if that's important this time, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
On the actual project, go ahead.
I have a couple questions. One, and I guess maybe we can take care of this after this project, but I don't see minutes. So if someone's got them, then can you forward them to me real quick? But my questions regarding this project is, I think what created a series of discussion was around, we understand that it's a design build project, but of the $400,000 in design, should that really be a part of what we review as the goals, because it's not necessarily part of the construction work. So if you could answer that for us, because that then impacts our, evaluation of the goals. And then how you get to, in a design component, how you get to only $200,000 of that being MBE, WBE, or MBE, I'm sorry.
So is that question directed to the
Department?
Public Works? Yes, Public Works.
I can try to answer that. I think some of that might be beyond my knowledge and might be an HRD question, but as far as the design portion being included with the construction, kind of again, I think it was outlined that way. I've only sent, I'm pretty new to this, so I apologize, but I've sent only a few projects through that were design build, and I guess there's projects that are set up that way that get both included. I haven't seen anywhere where the goals are separated out. And then as far as the design cost, the cost was kind of estimated again at the regular level for this size of a project for 7.1 million. Again, how that breaks down, that might be I might need some help from HRD to understand that myself.
Anthony,
Well,
to help with the question on the design build, this is Chad Thompson with Public Works, one of the assistant city engineers. Just the nature of this contract is the design is actually inside the construction contract as well. So it's all one single contract instead of being two separate ones, just on the nature of a design build contract.
Thank you, Chad.
Mr.
Philip,
Excuse me.
yes,
Mr. Chairman,
go
this
ahead,
is
Gabe.
Gabe.
I believe you were first, and then Joe. Go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah,
You have the floor.
Thank you. What I remember from, because basically what you're presenting to us is identical from what we looked at last month. And I've got in big red letters on my notes, looking for a better breakout, not only on the design build, but I know I asked specific questions about what does concrete reconstruction mean? I mean, these are pretty lump. What does pavement reconstruction mean? I mean, they're very lump sum numbers, and I understand that. And it sounds like we've got goals, historic goals that will align with these, but we were looking for places to verify that we do have the capacity in some of these line items. Did we not look at maybe expanding on the line items?
Or did the
Gabe,
word get back to the
I
department?
echo that too. For example, this was hard to evaluate. We've got a lot of minority and women companies that do curb and gutter, sidewalk. He mentioned green space, but we don't have any idea. And realizing it is design build, but the breakout doesn't tell us very much in terms of trying to look at availability.
So can I ask, when you were told that the project was held, were you told why? That because there's like no attempt to amend any of this.
I can probably speak to that. Kind of a conversation between Public Works and HRD, just trying to again understand the concerns that were brought up last time. I think there might have been a thought that better communication of the fact that it was a design build. I think the original idea was that we're trying to leave a little bit of creativity open to the design build team. So when it says concrete flat work, we know we want to redo the sidewalk. But as far as the roadway, we could be presented with an option that's concrete. We could be presented with an option that's asphalt. And so there was a thought that, it kind of varies. They could redo a lot of curb. They could not redo a lot of curb. So it just kind of keeps it as a general pavement reconstruction.
But what category is that embedded in if that's the goal? Because if it's all let's say it's embedded in concrete reconstruction, someone who bids on concrete reconstruction, whatever that is, may not necessarily be able to do green space. So, I mean, it's comparing apples to oranges, and we have no ability to be able to decipher where there is true availability.
Thank you.
And that is the crux of the whole matter. We have to assign goals based upon availability. Without the ability to be able to identify what works are in these line items that were brought out in the last meeting, we have no more clarification as to how to assess those goals. Under concrete pavement reconstruction, you had nothing set aside that you saw that minorities could do. The city itself, the only thing they could put in that was available. What's available? This is what we were looking for. We have to be responsible for setting goals based upon availability. And availability is shown simply by the contractors that are really willing and able to perform the task. But we have to know what the tasks are. And this is why the board, this is Ray Malone, I'm the chair. This is why the board members who represent the member contractors asked the question. And the same thing that Bridget brought out today. I don't think that the board has getting any more justice in being able to set aside an immutable goal without knowing exactly what their setting goals on.
Mr. Malone, it's telling that I didn't attend the last meeting, but that's what jumped out at me immediately.
Thank you. I was talking to Mr. Yelder a few minutes ago, and I thought that he was going to be able to be with us because the question was posed directly to him, and sending us back to be able to get those. Philip, have you been able to make it in yet?
I'm here, Mr. Malone. Excuse me, Mr. Malone. This is Philip. I'm on the line.
Could you help bring can you help bring some clarity to what we asked for in the last meeting, what was asked for by the board to the department? Not only just to the department for this particular project, but for the future as we go forward. Thank you.
Right. So it's my understanding, Mr. Malone, what the board was asking for. If we just looked at the line item design, I know design is a broad category, but within that professional service, I am seeing, since this is kind of like a roadway project, I'm sure there's civil engineering work involved in there. There may be design of water lines. I'm not sure in terms of that, but I know there's roadway designs. So those types of areas, Mr. Sands, is what the board is saying. Although it's an engineering set aside or engineering scope, what function, what task of the design work is to be performed. And I think that same rationale is what the board is asking to apply when you see like pavement reconstruction.
Before you go away from design, let's stay with design for a few minutes, then we'll go to that.
Sure.
The original question was, why was that a part of the construction? You have answered this before. So if you'll remind the board, and for those new members, why this $400,000 of design is added into the construction portion.
Yes, so this is a design build. So the professional service scope and both construction service scopes are all included in this one particular project. Normally, well, not normally, in some cases, the city bid work and they'll be at the professional service scope separate from the actual construction scopes. However, the city does use the option of having both professional and construction all in one package, all in one project, and this happens to be one. Although it's design build, it still has construction related scope, so those projects are brought before the Fairness Board for establishment of goals.
And typically that's only done in design and build, not in build and design. So that's simply usually done only in design build.
Design build.
Is that correct?
Design build project.
Yes. Bridget, does that help? Bridget? Okay, we'll come back.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
All right, sure, thank you. Okay, Philip, if you will continue on with the balance of the breakdown of the project.
Yes, sir. So,
Mr.
Sams, the other part, so if you look at geo drilling and laboratory testing, I think what the board is asking for, okay, what is the estimated value for the geotechnical drilling versus the laboratory testing? So you basically put those two in one line item or one scope of work, and that may be how you bid the work, or that's maybe how you look at the contractor when they are supplying their particular estimated cost, or when your engineer is going through and they're doing their engineering estimate. But I believe what the board is asking for, if that type of work or that type of scope can be broken down into specific line items, identifying what goes into geotechnical drilling as well as laboratory testing. On demolition, you just got a line item for like 900,000. Again, if this is just, tearing up the road, that kind of thing, then that may be fine. But if there's any other type of demolition taking place, if there's bridge demolition, and I don't know all the details of the project, but they're saying if there's bridge demolition compared to road demolition, then there's a breakout that they would be looking for.
The larger one, Philip, was on the pavement reconstruction and the concrete restoration. Those were the two biggest questions were.
Right, so on concrete on pavement reconstruction, I believe I heard you say that you all was going to give the contractor the option of either doing asphalt or concrete pavement. So those types of scopes or those types of alternative, the board is asking for a breakdown of that. If that's going to be the option, it's got to be like one or the other. But if that's the case, you need to at least identify it on the goal estimate sheet. So as when the board look at it, they can look at asphalt contractors as well as concrete contractors. And that way they can say, okay, well, if we go with asphalt, here's the availability of firms that can perform asphalt restoration. If they go with concrete, here's the firms that can perform concrete restoration. So that's the level of detail I believe they're asking you to provide to them in these projects. Is that, Mr. Chairman, is that?
That's basically what I heard the board asking. Abe, Joe, did you guys, you two were the ones that, does that help?
I recall, you bet. Mr. Chairman, I recall the conversation and I'll just use pavement reconstruction as an example.
Yes.
That's roughly 80% of the project, but I don't know and the lion's share of this work is going to be pavement reconstruction, but I don't believe that it's going to be 5 million unless my math is wrong. There's got to be some miscellaneous things in that lump sum. In order to, I just don't have any way of knowing what that is. I understand it's a design build job. I understand there's still a lot of ways we could go, but we're still paving the same lineal feet of street. We know we're going to need approaches or signs or curbs or whatever. I'm just asking for a better definition of the job so we don't want to hold anybody up, but I don't know how to put a goal on something that I don't know how it's going to be installed.
Definitely, that could be inlets and several other things that goes along with streets. To break some of those out. I understand that if it's design built in asphalt, it'll be different than concrete, but some of the same things that are required in concrete are also required in asphalt and mirror. And I think that's what some of the breakout was looking.
Hauling, drainage.
Yes. Alignment. Yeah. Sewer alignment. handle the alignments and so forth.
If the chair would mind a few comments from the department.
Sure.
So kind of the
Lisa,
nature
go
of a
ahead.
design build project when we're doing a reconstruction is literally we're taking the street that's already there and putting it back in place. We give those construction and design teams almost full leeway with what would come back, and we don't know what's going to come back until we get those proposals back. But we can't issue those proposals without the goals. So you've kind of put us in a catch-22. You want us to define what the project is, but we don't define the project in a reconstruction design build. We're telling them they have to redo the pavement from point A to point B, and we don't really give them a whole lot extra beyond that. That's as much as we say. It isn't like a traditional design bid build where we are defining what that project will be. We're literally giving them a clean slate, saying we want you to get as much done in this run of project as we can with the funds that we have available. And that's pretty much as much definition as we're giving them. There may be a few extra ideas that we're saying we would like you to incorporate green solutions. We'd like you to incorporate things with the smart sewer if there's key items that could be. But we leave that it's an open palette with the design builds on reconstruction that just says we want the road redone from point A to point B. So where you're saying you need to tell us how much concrete work, we don't know how much you're gonna.
Just a minute. Now, I hear all of that. We still need more breakdown. Now, what you could do is take a traditional job and look what was achieved there and what goals were set there and extrapolate that onto your design build. But our problem remains. It's not enough detail for us to base a goal on availability. So we're going to have to find a way to meet in the middle. And I understand your constraints and concerns.
Yeah, and we can provide the linear feet of roadway that we plan to redo, but how it's going to be done is, we can't define that. We can say there's roughly going to be so many linear feet of curb, so many linear feet of roadway, but it becomes very difficult at that point, unless Anthony's got something more defined than that at this point.
Well, but all of this, to be quite frank, is an estimate if it's a design build, except probably the length of the road, because you want the length of the road to be the same. The width might not be the same, but if there's green space, I would think in a design build, you would be able to estimate what green space might cost. A contractor's not being held to having to choose in these areas, but we need an idea of what those areas are to be able to attach a goal to it.
And we can provide those type of estimates, but they're going to be estimates. So if you're going to hold them to us in the final project, we know that they're going to be incorrect.
Well, isn't all of this estimate?
Well, that's why we've provided it the way it is, because this is what we've provided to the design build teams. You're getting the exact information we're giving the design build teams.
And
Anthony,
so what we're saying to you is
No.
what we're saying to you is we need more information to be able to make an informed decision. The infrastructure committee yesterday spent an enormous amount of time attacking the fairness board for the goals that to water services contracts and public works. And so if we're going to be able to make informed decisions that we can back up why we're doing what we're doing, we need that information from you guys. All of this is estimate.
$100,000 in hauling, but if you do asphalt or concrete, your hauling number is going to be way over that. We simply don't have enough information.
And I can kind of speak to the hauling a little bit. There's some other design build projects that we're looking at where some of the creative solutions the design build team has come up with is actually repurposing the pavement where it is. And that can actually end up saving us a lot of money if it can be reused as a sub base for the roadway. So again, it's just kind of along the thought process of leaving the creativity option open.
What is the
Essentially,
time
what they
frame?
do is they crush the pavement and use that as their base.
What's the total lineal foot, or how long is this asphalt? I'll break it down for you if I have to, but $5 million, you've talked about 2 different or 3 different methods now of pavement reconstruction. So basically what you're telling us is you haven't figured that out yet, but you want us to put a goal on it.
You have a linear feet, don't you, Anthony?
I don't think there's a linear footage described in the goal proposal, no.
But we could pull that up real
We
quick.
could definitely do that, yeah. We could.
Why don't you pull it up on Parcel Viewer real fast and figure out the linear feet?
And what is the time frame to get this out to bid? Is this a ASAP project or?
The go bonds identified right now would become available next fiscal year. So I'd say mid next year is when we're attempting to get this, probably a little bit before that, get this advertised.
Okay.
Okay, let me add this to you as you started to go through all of these. You're dealing with board members that represent the heavy and highway construction industry. So you're not dealing with novelists who are not familiar with road building, as well as some of our other board members are also road contractors, and understand that if you take out a road and you take out so many inlets, so many entryways for curbs and so forth, handicapped coming into that, you're not going to take any of those away. You know how many there are, and you're expecting for that design builder to give you that back. You're expecting that design builder also to give you the same amount of inlets and all of the things that it takes for those apparatuses to go back in. You should be able to break that down because you already have that knowledge of the street that's going to be reconstructed. You should be able to look at your plans and see what's there and give us an idea of what is there and what's going to go back. That will help us to be able to give you an estimate. We're not asking you to be held to a higher standard than anyone else, but we are held to a high standard in setting these goals. The only way that we can properly set these goals is that we have to be able to make an informed decision. So that's all we're asking you for, is to give us the information to make an informed decision. You have zero availability in concrete reconstruction because you don't know. You know, if you had checked with HRD, there are concrete and asphalt contractors who's available to do those work. Have you gotten with HRD on this project?
Yes.
Did you ask them about availability in concrete reconstruction, whether it's asphalt or concrete?
So again,
you the knowledge that there are contractors out there that are available.
So again, to the type of contract that you were talking about, we could have a contractor who says we're going to remove just the surface pavement and the pavement in the middle between the curb and gutter and not touch the curb and gutter and inlets. That is fully allowed and been proposed on previous design builds and been accepted. We've also had those literally built from the ground up with storm sewer, water line and everything. So this is,
so you're saying that this
the nature of the project is it could be
instead of
either way.
Instead of being $7 million project, it could wind up being a $3 million project. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And if we did, we honestly would probably have them do the north and south legs of this project.
Mr. Chair, I think we've spent enough time on this issue. I don't think
what's your pleasure?
The department wants to understand what we need. And we've had projects like design build projects before. We could look at a traditional project that's similar to identify scopes of work for minorities. But I don't think this is productive. And frankly, me off. We need to move on.
What's your
Chair,
pleasure, board?
we
Do
could
you want to
definitely-
hear this project? Do you want the department to go back and give us better breakdowns? Or do you want to hear the project? The board is up to you. We have a goal presently set by HRD at 13 and 10 for the project. On my goal setting sheet, on the estimate sheet, it shows 15 and 10. But on the actual goal to sign off on 15 and 9, rather. So what's your pleasure? Do you want to hear it? Do you want to send it back so you'll be better informed? I'll entertain a motion. I'll
Mr. Chair,
entertain a motion from the board. Go ahead,
Mr.
Gabe
Chair,
Perez.
this is Gabe with Hispanic Contractors. I would make a motion that we continue this to next month's meeting and again ask for better breakdown so we can develop appropriate goals that doesn't punish the contractor or minority and women-owned businesses.
Okay, there's a motion
Second.
on the floor to set aside that project
Bridget Williams,
by
heavy
Gabe.
constructor, second.
It has been seconded by Bridget Williams. All in favor by name?
Aye.
Name and I.
Oh, Bridget, aye.
I have 2 ayes so
John
far.
Greenville,
Bridget,
aye.
three,
Kara McGreevy.
4,
Gabe, aye.
5. Ayes have it. All opposed? No nays. Ayes have it. Next project. This project will be set aside for the second time. Department, I plead with you to come back to HRD if you need help and putting together what the board is looking for, and then bring the project back to us on next month. Thank you.
Understood.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Randolph, for project number 2.
Project
Go
number
right ahead.
2, new traffic signal installation at North Flick Rock Road and 90th Street. Estimated cost $341,600. Is the project manager here from Public Works? No. Chad, are you still with us? Okay.
Well, that one's easy.
Chad's logging back in.
This is Chad with Public Works. I think you'd asked that I come back in.
Sure. Are you familiar with this project?
Which project is it?
New traffic signal installation at Dark Flick Rock Road and 90th Street.
I am not.
Okay. This is, Brother Chair, I believe this was, Mr. Chair, I believe this was one that was held over from last month as well, or carried over from last month.
I thought we only carried over 2, and one was an alphabet agency.
Oh, I thought this one.
recommendation.
No, it was carried.
No,
This is Kim.
This was carried over from last month.
Yeah, the project
Why?
manager did not appear as well last month.
Oh, okay. So this
Wow.
is Public Works?
Chad, do you think you can run down someone that, if I may ask, Mr. Chair?
Can I ask you who made the original submittal, and I can see if I can get them on?
Sam Akulu?
Sam
AK
Akula? If you bear with me, I'm gonna leave the meeting and I'll see if I can get Sam to be a part of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll come back to the project, and we move on to the next project, and we'll hold that and come back to it.
The next
Well, let us
project,
know when he comes back. If he comes in, let us know, and we go back to it. Go ahead, Mr.
the
Randolph.
next project number is 041616964. KCI New Terminal Concessions Build-Out Program for $30 million. Is Mr. Waller on the line?
I am. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hi. Yes, this is Mike Waller, Senior Planner with Planning and Engineering with Aviation. I'm also joined today by Pete Fullerton. He's the Assistant Director for Properties and Commercial Development. And so he and I will both be answering questions with regard to this request today. The project will involve the full service construction of concession areas for the KCI new terminal project at KCI. The total program is estimated to cost $50 million, including $20 million in contractually obligated tenant supplied franchise mandated equipment that could include ovens, counters, signage, seating, and other types of finishers, fixtures, and equipment. This FF&E would only be exempted from HRD participation in the event that those FF&E is contractually mandated to be purchased through a specific vendor who may not qualify as an M&WBE supplier or vendor, and that would be between the owner franchisor of the brand and the airport concessionaire. The remaining $30 million and all required funds subject to HRD participation will include build out the concessions areas by the concessionaire. They're eligible for M&WBE participation, and that's highlighted in the estimated cost breakdown. There are 13 trades included in this breakdown. The 5 top trades in terms of costs and availability would be carpentry, framing, electrical, HVAC, and plumbing. I would entertain or answer any questions you might have.
Or you still have the floor. What's in your site work?
That could be construction management examples, construction management, temporary barricades, barriers, temporary signage. Obviously, this is going to be finishing out the areas that are left, I guess you could say, unfinished by the terminal building construction itself.
Okay.
Carpentry, would you like me to maybe cover the top 5?
Yes, please do.
Okay, sure. So carpentry, that would include construction, installation, repair of structures, fixtures, plywood, and wallboard. Framing would include installation of wood, engineering wood, structural steel, trusses, and sheathing. Electrical, energy systems, power engineering, microelectronics, obviously systems and controls, signal processing, multimedia processing associated with the concessionaires in the areas. HVAC, obviously, that could be split systems, hybrid systems, duct-free systems, or packaged heating and air systems. Finally, plumbing, obviously, that one's, pretty straightforward. Pipes, valves, plumbing fixtures, tanks, and the like.
Ready? Thank you. Very good. Mr. Randolph.
The project manager came up with 12 and 7, and after evaluating it, we came up with 15 and 10. And on the M side, in the areas of interior doors, ceilings and tile, telecommunications, doors, and glazing and windows. And on the W side, drywall, carpet flooring, and painting. And all the other areas that are projected for this project, there is availability in all areas, again, 15 and 10. We did find one similar project that is currently in place at the airport for $20 million. Facility repair and maintenance contract, tenant finishes. And it had 13 subcontractors in the area of HVAC, plumbing, structural steel, architectural services, electrical, janitorial services, window glazing, fire sprinklers, signage, HVAC, and electrical supplies. The cup is 18 and 10, and my research shows me that this project is still open, and that's our report.
Okay, tell me this, under your painting, see the overall, the owner has $840 What was the rationale behind HRD setting aside 570? And underline, that's underlined item of painting.
Right. We just made the adjustment. We could have put that over there, but we made the adjustment to max it out at 10%.
Okay. Isn't it likely that one painter would probably do that whole scope of work?
It is possible, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that was one of the things we'd ask in analyzing.
Sure.
Don't do that, you know, to departmentalize it like that. Okay, board, questions from the board?
I've got a question. How will this work be let? Will it be let as one use project or individual concessionaires?
This is Mike Waller. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and maybe have Pete Fullerton address that question.
Well, Joe, this is Pete Fullerton. I think that's a good question. I think it is going to be, I would expect, all at once. And when I say that, you know, what the anticipation is that we have this RFP get out on the street. We have a selection, and then it all has to kind of be ready to be, you know, the entire facility needs to be ready to be opened in March of 2023. So I would expect that this would be all hands on deck, all at once, not out at piecemeal.
That's just great. I worried so much about minorities and women having an opportunity to do the build out of the individual concessions. So this really pleases me today.
So does this not fall under the development agreement?
No, and that's why we're coming in this way. The concessionaire is a separate agreement, and yeah, an RFP for selection and all that kind of good stuff is slated for early next year.
So
how are the boundaries? Go ahead, Richie. You have the floor.
So my assumption is before you. So how do you put this contract on the street? Do you already know what types of concessions are going to be in the airport? So I mean,
yes and no. There's in the preliminary plans some slotting, if you will, on expectations that it would be food and beverage here, maybe a kiosk there. But as far as specifics, that's really going to be us after we determine the concessionaire in total, looking at the plans that they come forward with, using their expertise to say, no, that particular slot really is better for food, or that particular slot we believe is better for news and snacks.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Fullerton, Gabe Perez.
Okay.
Just trying to do some quick math. Just approximately, do you know how many individual concession spaces there'll be?
No, I do not. I mean, a number I would give you would probably be such a speculation at this point. I do not have that information.
So you don't know if it's 20, if it's 100, or?
No. I mean, we got raw numbers that it's going to be, you know, in square footage, that is similar to what we have right now, but it's going to be obviously in a configuration and more streamlined for everything. So no, I do not have the actual square footage in my head.
Okay.
Sorry.
And the only reason I ask is that especially if they're going to be you know, because you specifically mentioned franchise mandated equipment and finishes, and I'm wondering if that $30 million figure could be substantially affected by what type of concessions go in.
Yeah,
and
good point.
what they're mandated.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, it's an educated, the 50 million is a educated guess that's what we believe right now is what the full build out would be. Our educated guess is that $30 million would be related to our conversations today, with 20 million being the FF&E. That would be, Starbucks, grinders, and so forth. Like I said, an educated guess. We would certainly be working with HRD as well as the concessionaire, the prime concessionaire, to make sure that as much as possible, that at the end of the day, that 30 million could be higher, to make sure that we do get as much participation as we can. But like I said, with this being a projection, it's not a like I said, an educated guess at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Now, are these all food services? Are these other types of businesses like magazines and things of that nature? Or just strictly food services?
Food and beverage, as well as news and gift.
Okay, all right. Okay. Further questions from the board?
So I do have a question. I think Tom, Mr. Randolph, you said that there's a $20 million tenant finishing going on currently, and the CUP came in at 18 and 10.
That is correct.
Are they on target with the 18 and 10?
Yes. So far that one was actually bid, contract that was out in 2008. It's been added to, thus that $20 million. Currently, that is 15% MBE and 15% WBE is what that is, and we're actually closing that one out. And this board saw the new tenant finishes a proposal earlier this year, and we just finished up contracting that to Structure Incorporated just here recently. So yes.
So the goals were 15 and 15, not 18 and 10.
No, the goals were 18 and 10, and 15-15 is what has been what was achieved over the last 12 years.
So they'll 12 years.
Yeah, it was bid out. That was actually a tenant finishes that started as like a $2 million and got added to over the period of time to be a total of $20 million.
They kept the same goal.
Yep, kept the same goal over the time. Thank you.
So that leads to my final question. Then I see Don is eager to chime in. What happens if this contract increases? If it increases to what, like let's say the $50 million, does the goal stay the same, or do we have the option for it to come back before us? You mentioned you'll be working with HRD, but it's not necessarily HRD's decision alone.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Bridget, this is Philip. So yes, if there's if the project cost increase, the goals would remain the same at the 15 and 15. Well, I'm sorry, whatever goal you all recommend today, that will be the goal going forward. And if once the contract expires, it would come back to the board for a revisit or establishing the goals going forward. I don't know, Pete, or if Mike, if you all have an estimate of how long you anticipate this contract to be for. Is it like a 1-year deal, or is it just to complete the KCI new terminal, or will this have like 3 or 4 year extensions? Can you explain to the board how you anticipate the contract to to be administered over the next years once you enter into an agreement with someone.
Mike, you want me to take that one?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay. It is anticipated that this would be, timed out to whatever 2023, when we open in 2023, and hopefully whatever cleanup we would have after opening of the terminal.
So Pete, you guys said earlier that the previous contract you've had, like I think in place since 2008. So this contract here, are you saying this contract would be different? It would not be that kind of contract. It would have a, let's say, term expiration where it would expire, I guess, once the new terminal is open. Then what happens at that point? Do you come back to the board for a new maintenance contract? Is that what the board would be looking at?
Yeah, we, this particular one would be, is really task oriented, get the concessions finished and completed. How we determine maintenance after opening. That tenant finishes contract worked well for us over the years. And like I said, we have a new contract out there. It has only $3 million in the budget and authorization right now. But I think that the answer would be there would be a new contract that would be put in place for any maintenance or tenant finishes that we would have after opening.
Okay.
Will you also be handling the additional contracts under maintenance, janitorial, people moving and things of that nature?
Under this contract or another contract?
Another contract. Will that be coming through your department?
Yes, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that'll be coming up in the future?
Yep.
All right. Board, any other questions? There are no other questions. I'll entertain a motion. Got a long ways to go yet.
I move that we accept human relations standard of 15 and 10.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Maben and second by Mr. Greenwell. We accept HRD's recommendation of 15 and 10. All in favor? My name.
Aye. Oh, Bridget, aye.
Loman, aye.
McGreevy, aye.
Maben, aye.
Perez, aye.
Yeah, 5 in favor, all opposed. Ayes have it. Project has been passed with a goal of 15 and 10. Next project.
Thank you.
The next project is.
Thank you.
The next project is 80002306 water main replacement at the Charles B. Wheeler Downtown Airport along Northwest New Holland Drive from Northwest Richards Road to 915 Northwest New Holland Drive in the amount of $1,991,750. This project comes from the Water Services Department. Is the representative with us this afternoon?
Yes, sir. My name's Kelly Finn with Project Manager with Water Services. Also with me today in this virtual meeting is Christian Hoyas, who's also a project manager, and he's on this project also. This is a water main replacement project along the south extents of the Charles B. Wheeler Downtown Airport. This project will install approximately 8,000 feet of new water mains consisting of 7,150 feet of 12-inch ductile iron pipe by open cut trench, primarily in pavement along New Holland Drive, some parking areas in North Richards Road, plus 850 feet of 16-inch fusible PVC installed by horizontal directional drill under a large paved hangar area adjacent to the runway. This is a design bid build. Design professionals are Black & Veatch and SK Design. Our scope breakdowns include asphalt pavement restoration, concrete restoration and backing blocks for the mains, construction staking, seeding, trucking, DIP pipe materials and appurtenances, then open cut excavation with installation of pipeline, normally done by a single crew. Horizontal directional drill with fusible PVC would be done by primarily a subcontractor to the general. Pipe testing, traffic control, and erosion control. I'd be happy to answer any questions about that scope.
There are no questions from the board. We'll move right directly to HRD for its presentation.
The project leader came in on this project at 10 and 6. HRD agreed with their analysis of 10 and 6 in terms of the MBE participation in the area of concrete, seeding, trucking for 10%. And on the W side, asphalt pavement, traffic control and erosion control with 6%. We found 5 projects with similar activities in the areas of concrete, sod, hauling, just about all of them. The first one, the goals was 10 and 6, and the final was 11 and 10. The second project was 9 and 7, closed at 17 and 6. The third one, the goal was 10 and 6, and it closed at 11 and 8. The fourth project was 11 and 6, and it closed at 24 and 6. And the last one, the goal was 10 and 6, and the final was 9 and 9. And again, all of these had areas of work: concrete, traffic control, asphalt, sod and seeding, pretty consistent with what the current project is, except for sod and, well, yeah, there was sod and seeding in this one as well. That concludes our report.
Okay, the dollar amount on those 5 projects that you gave, were the dollar amount similar to this project?
I'll give
around
them,
2 million?
I'll give them, yes, 1.8, 1 million, 1 million, 1.8 million, and 1.4. I'll make sure I read those.
Okay. Sure. They might want to know for comparison purposes. Okay, board questions.
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman.
You have the floor.
My question is for HRD. With all of those projects that you just read, goals were set at 10 and 6, and virtually every one of them significantly exceeded the 10 and 6 goal. So why did we not look at our assessment and set higher goals on this project?
Thank you.
HRD, it's on you.
I do not know why we did not raise those goals. I would think that they were trying to be consistent with what with the original goals. And I understand your point.
Yeah, a consistency would be to have project goals similar to those that was achieved in the past, as was put out and what was achieved, which is a little bit higher than what we have here. So board, I'm going to ask you to look at the project as it is, and I hope that all of you also noted where the projects went out at and what they came back at, so it shows a greater availability of what's here. So the questions are still to the board. Thank you for that question, Mr. Lohman.
Can you tell me what, one more time, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can you tell me one more time what the goals were, and how are some of those projects still open?
Sure. You want me to repeat them?
Yeah, yes.
Sure. Okay.
And whether they're open or not.
Sure. The first one was a project. The contract amount was $1.8 million. It is closed. It closed in 2018. The goal was 10 and 6. and the final was 11 and 10. The second project was $1 million and $1,009,000. It is closed. The goals were 9 and 7. The final was 17 and 6. The third was $1,036,800.
Is that project closed?
The second one, yes.
When did it close?
The second one closed 12/6/19.
Okay.
The third project, $1,036,837. It closed February of this year. The goals were 10 and 6. The final was 11 and 8. The fourth one was $1.8 million. It closed 11/7/19. The goals were 11 and 6. It closed at 24 and 6. They probably self-performed, but I do not have that in front of me. I can probably pull this folder and look in it. And the last one was $1.4 million. It closed 9 of 18. The goals were 10 and 6. And it closed at 9 and 9.
Thank you. Does that help, Bridget?
Yes.
Board, I'll entertain a motion, or if you have any other questions.
Mr. Chair, I would be willing to propose a motion. This is Bob Lohman, of setting goals at 12 and 9.
Mr. Lohman has proposed a goal set by the board at 12 and 9. Do I hear a second? Okay, the motion seems to have not received a second of 12 and 9. So board was still open to discussion.
I want to note that since you have availability, both M and W, in virtually every scope, one contract can screw that achievement level above the 10 and 6. So it's, and as Randolph was trying to note, if contract where the minority achieved 25%, that could have been the self-performed work of a minority general that took the job. Just a comment.
So noted. Joe, I noted that also, and I struck that out of the goals in which he gave, and still the balance of the contracts were all above what the cut was. Again, if you strike that out, the first one was 10 and 6 and achieved 11 and 10. The second was 9 and 7 and it achieved 17 and 6. The third one was 10 and 6 and it achieved 11 and 8, skipping the one where you had the high 24, and the fourth one was 10 and 13. It's the only one that came in below at 9 and 9.
Mr. Chair, this is Matt Bond, the Deputy Director for Water. Can I make a quick comment, observation?
Please do.
Yes, we do need to find out about the self-perform, because there are a couple of minority firms that have been winning significant work as a prime, and that may well be in that second one as well that achieved the 17%. So I think we probably need to clarify if you're using that data for your analysis. I'd just like you to consider that if you could.
Thank you. Okay, board is still in your hands, either to approve the motion, set your goals, or more comments. I'm not rushing you, but we have a ways to go.
Well, in that case, Mr. Chairman, toward that end, Mr. Chairman, this is Gabe. I would recommend that the board approve the goal set at 10 and 6 by the department and the HRD.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Perez to accept the both departments' goals of 10 and 6. Is there a second?
I just have a comment that And
Okay, we're
looking,
going back to comments. We'll sit your motion aside.
well,
Ms.
actually,
Williams, go ahead.
you can have discussion after a motion.
Okay, go ahead. We bring it back.
Even if a contractor self-performed a portion of this, it's still to have 5 contracts within basically 2 years. It's still higher than 10 and 6. And if the availability is there, you know, maybe we should look at trying to increase it some. So I'm open to.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is. Oh, sorry.
Abe, you have the floor. You're the proposer. Go ahead.
I would, Mr. Lohman's motion does not break my heart. It's just that until we understand, because these projects are different in that, and the way they're actually installed, if it's horizontal drilled, or if it's an open cut, if it's 4 foot deep, if it's, 12 foot deep, there's so many variables. And until we know where these projects are exceeding their goals, it's hard for us to, at least in my mind, to automatically say, let's raise the goals. But I don't think raising 10 and 6, raising it above 10 and 6 is unreasonable. I'm open for ideas.
Okay. If we're going to be open and go back into discussion, one moment, let's set aside your motion to accept HRD's recommendation. And let's just go back into discussion because we have not gone for a motion for approval and so forth. So we're going to set this aside. Let's continue our discussion until we can come to a happy medium. Ms. Williams, you have the floor.
I would be willing to, if we, not knowing if all of these projects are actually the same scope, where they are, I think it's fair to say it would be it could be a stretch to get to a 12 and 7. And then I think we need to start looking at these projects more apples to apples based on not even the scope of work is important, but the type of material that the type of work that needs to be done so we can better assess. So I'm not going to put it on the floor, but I would suggest maybe a 12 and 7.
Let me say this. That's a good suggestion. I'll need a motion. Let me say this. I don't know the complete breakdown of all of the other projects. The only thing I can look at is the fact that Mr. Randolph should have given us, in which he did, similar projects for us to go off. The dollar amounts were extremely close. Yeah. They range from 1 million to 1.9 million, which is about what we're looking at today. So the dollar amount and the type of projects are extremely similar. If every scope of work is not the same, we can't go by that, but we can go by what we have. Also, there's a great amount of availability that has been shown by HRD, and we're responsible for setting goals based upon availability. Everybody wants to have a fair contract, which a general contractor wants to have a good project, but at the same time, you have subcontractors who deserve to have a portion of that work based upon their availability and their readiness. We have a responsibility of looking at the availability, looking at the readiness, and looking at the projects and setting a fair and equitable goal. That's your task right now, board.
Mr. Chair, I'm not opposed to, Bridget, I'm not opposed to going up some, but I'm going to remind you, if that project is taken by a minority or a woman concerned, the self-performed work can skew it. You can't compare a project that's not taken by a minority and women with that. because your self-perform work, you won't have that on the other projects. But I'm not opposed to 12 and something else. Bob, what was your original motion?
12 and
11
9.
and 7. 11 and 9.
No, 12 and 9.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I thought you were at 11, Bob.
I thought you said 13 and 9, but anyway, everybody heard something different.
We don't have a motion on the floor. I will entertain a
Do I
motion.
need to talk louder?
Yeah.
Just talk.
I thought he said 18 and 10.
Yeah, I would make
We're
a
going to
motion.
throw all of it.
You guys are killing me. This is analysis paralysis by analysis.
I would recommend.
Thank you, it is. Yes, it is.
I would make a motion of 12 and 7.
There's a motion on the floor by Bridget Williams of 12 and 7. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Joseph Maben. All in favor? By name.
Loman, nay.
Greenwell,
One Loman,
aye.
nay, and Maben, aye. Greenwell, aye.
McGreevy, aye.
Perez, aye.
McGreevy, aye.
Perez,
aye. Ayes have it. Ayes have it. Next project. It has been approved. And what was that? Say that again.
12 and 7.
Presenter. 12 and 7. It's been accepted at 12 and 7. Next project.
Next project is 820000273, stormwater improvements in the area of East 73rd Street and Cleveland Avenue. Project estimated cost $388,900. Is Ms. Johnson with us this afternoon?
Good afternoon.
You have the floor.
Good afternoon to the board. Hello.
Hello.
This is Diana Johnson.
Hello.
I'm with the Water Services Department, and I have a project here is for stormwater improvements at 73rd and Cleveland. There is severe flooding in that area, and we are proposing to upgrade the stormwater, the storm sewer system across 73rd Street in front of residents at 3909 and 38 and 38. I'm sorry, and 3814 East 73rd, adding inlets at 73rd and Cleveland and piping them along the north side of East 73rd East to new pipe that we're going to put in across 73rd Street. In addition, we're also going to add new inlets will be installed in front of 7322 and 7315, 7325 Cleveland, piping those east to drainage swales, which are behind the homes there.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The project leader came in at 25 and 10. HRD, after reviewing it, came in at 13 and 10. And work in the area of construction, staking, curb inlet and junction box on the M side and on the W side, clearing and grubbing and demolition, and on traffic control, silk fence, inlet protection, and seating. There were three similar contracts located. The first one, the cost was $517,901. It is still open. The cup is 10 and 10 with 4 subcontractors. Currently, it is 6.8 below MBE and below 10 below for the WBE. The work that's being done is hauling, curbs, sod, and seating. Project number 2.
Before you leave that, before you leave number 1, what do you mean? 8 below and 10 below?
It is still open, and according to the computer, it is below the goals.
Okay, so the goal, and what is it below the goal?
Right now, on the M side is 6.8 below, and on the W side is 10% below.
So they haven't achieved anything on the W side.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Project number 2, the cost is $350,000. The contract is currently open. The CUP was 8 and 4 with 4 subcontractors. And right now, there was no goal information put in the system to report on. The areas of work are hauling, curbs, sodding, and seeding. The third project cost is $606,000. The contract is open. The CUP was 13 and 7 with 4 subcontractors. Currently, it is 5.7% below M and 6.3% below W in the areas of hauling, construction, erosion, and erosion control. And that project just opened in 2019, which was last year. So those are the 3 contracts that I was able to locate, and that concludes our report.
My question is, if we have, I guess my first question is, how did the department arrive at 25 and 10 if we can't even meet 8 and 4? And subsequently, how did HRD come to 13 and 10 if at this point none of the goals are being met?
And what is the intention?
Figure, Bridget, because we don't know that minorities that they've entered in their contractor utilization plan, if their work has even come up yet. So to say they're be under the goal doesn't really tell us anything.
But HRD should know whether they're in the first, third, second, third, or the latter part of the project.
So and this was my project, and when we look at information, I don't have that view from my perspective. That view would be the project leaders who are assigned to these contracts. I look into the reporting system that's available to me to see what individuals are putting into the system.
Okay. Since the projects are still open, it's hard to add those type of comments. You understand what I mean?
Sure.
I see the concern. I see the board concern. But I do have a question.
Can I make my regular speech when we have these $300,000 jobs? I think both HRD and the department's goals are far too high. We don't know when it's close to 300,000 if it'll come in under the engineer's estimate. And you make it unattractive for bidders, minority, women, and majority contractors. I think on a small project, we ought to be very careful about setting a goal of 13 and 10 when we didn't set that high a goal on a $1.9 million project that's frankly similar.
Joe, make a motion.
Yes. Motion.
Pardon me?
Joe, make a motion.
Joe, make a motion.
Quick before Bob
okay.
does.
Your analysis is correct, Joe. So they're asking for a motion. Let's not be held up by paralysis.
Well, I move that we set a goal of 10 and 7. Or better, 10
There's a
and
motion
6.
on the, but you got to make one or the other. This is a motion.
10 and 6.
There's a motion set on the floor by Mr. Maben to set a goal at 10 and 6. Is there a second?
I will second. Lohman.
Mr. Lohman seconds a motion. All in favor?
Bridget,
By
aye.
name.
McGreevy, aye.
That's good.
Lohman, aye.
Perez, aye.
Opposed? I don't think I have anybody down here listed that could oppose. The ayes have it. The project goal has been set at 10-6.
My thanks to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our next project.
The next project is 80002221, water main replacement in the area of Northwest Hillsdale Drive to I-29, Northwest 66 Terrace to Northwest 72nd Street. The estimated cost, $2,048,732. This project comes to us from Water Services Department. Is a representative with us this evening.
Wow, it's evening already?
Well, good afternoon. This is Jeff Martin with Water Services. If I'm looking at my PMs on for this, but so this is a water main replacement project in the area up north off of Hilldale and I-29 area. This is part of our 28-mile replacement program that we do each year. So it involves the installation of new water distribution mains, the restoration work associated with that, whether it be the asphalt restoration, as most of this main is installed within the roadway. Also has concrete restoration work for work across the sidewalks and driveways, as well as the pouring of the straddle blocks for those. Construction staking, the sod and seating restoration, the trucking, pipe material, and the appurtenance for that, the valves and the reducers, as well as the installation of that, the testing of that pipe once it's installed, and then the traffic control and erosion control. Happy to answer any questions.
I'd just like to thank you for an adequate breakdown we can make an analysis on. Very well done. Any other questions by the board, or do we move on to analysis by HRD?
The project leader came in at 10-6, and HRD agreed with this assessment at 10-6 with the works that were identified, the same works that were identified by the project leader in the area in the M side. On the M side, 51,000 sodding and seating, 153 in pipe installation, and on the W side, work in the area of asphalt, concrete restoration, construction and staking, trucking, traffic control, and erosion control for 6%. There were three projects, similar projects that were identified. The first one, 1.9 million, it is closed. The cup was 10-6. It achieved 12-7. Participation in utilities, hauling, and landscaping. The second project, $1.9 million. It is currently open. The goals were set at 10-6. It is 90% complete. It is achieving 12-7. Participation in concrete supply, hauling, concrete, asphalt, erosion control, and seating. The last project was $1.8 million. This project is closed. The cup was 11-6. It achieved 24-6. That might be that same project that was on the other one. Participation in concrete supply, materials, utilities, traffic control, asphalt, erosion control, and landscaping. And that concludes.
Okay, the project that's closed and it achieved 0.4-6.
24-6.
24-6.
That probably was that same project that was on that other project that we just talked about.
So I have
you identified a contractor?
Excuse me?
Can you identify the contractor?
On this last project, it does not identify the project, the contractor. Okay. I do have on the other one, hold on one second. On the previous contract, we talked about, that was Hettinger, Hetttinger Excavating.
Do you know if they're minority or majority?
I do not know.
Mr. Chair, that's a majority-owned company. Hedgerton Excavation's a majority-owned firm.
And that's one of the 12 and 7s?
So his
No, 24 and 6.
Okay.
No, Bridget.
that's 24 and 6.
So my question, I have a couple questions. One is it likely that someone would subcontract $153,000 of $1.1 million for pipe installation? And then the second question is the 25% for the supplier. Has that already been is that shown in this $564,000 number? Is the 564 minus the 25%, or is it with the 25%?
That includes the 25%. So that's the total cost of the materials as estimated.
So Bridget, this
Answer,
Phillips.
Bridget.
Bridget, this Phillips. So in looking at the analysis, the 25% is inadequate because it should be 6%. So I guess the project manager, project lead of water did not realize that the material costs, you get 60% credit for that. But HRD did not include that in terms of identifying a particular scope, but we did say there's availability because we do have availability in that. So if the contractor did decide to utilize a material supplier, they will get credit 6% of that dollar value if they used them for that.
Oh, okay. Because I did not understand what that was.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, any other questions?
So then is that 60%? That's just that 60% then is not estimated in this 10 and 6?
No, correct.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make my standard complaint that we continue to charge ourselves for permits. So. Which continues.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a, this is Loman, I would actually like to make a motion.
Okay, so do it.
I would like to propose that we accept the same number that we put on the Charles Wheeler Airport of 12 and 7.
There's a motion on the floor to change the goals to 12 and 2nd, and it was seconded by Mrs. Williams. All in favor?
Loman, aye.
Perez, aye.
My name.
Aye, Maven.
McGreevy, aye.
Williams, aye.
Okay. Proposer. Did I get an aye from the proposer?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Opposed. I just wanted to make sure for the record, I've been asked to have everyone to present their name for the records. So ayes have it. Robert Rules of Order. Are there any opposed? No opposed. Ayes have it. Mr. Maven.
In the future, I think it's important for us to know. Excuse me.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Maven, and then Mr. Greenwell.
I think it's important for us to know if the contract was awarded to a minority or a woman-owned company where their self-performed work counts. Because that 25% in one of them jobs doesn't mean anything if we don't know that.
Okay. But my understanding, Joseph, was that there was a majority contractor who was a general contractor. You were referring to when the general contractor is a minority?
I thought Thomas said he didn't know who the
No, he
contractor
said it was a majority contractor. He went back and looked.
He went back and looked, and Philip, he said the name, and Philip said that it was a majority. I wrote the name down.
That was the second contract. That wasn't that one. He skipped
No,
over, said he didn't know, but he knew one for the middle contractor of the three.
No, he said it was.
That was one that it used for reference.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Yeah, that was one he used for reference. ATM or something like that was the name of the contract. I didn't write it all down, but Philip said he was a majority.
Mr. Malone, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, it was Hedingen Excavation, and that was a majority-owned firm on both of those for the 20. I think it was 24-6 or 24-7 was the achieved amount. So it was a majority-owned firm. So it just appears that they utilized minorities way above the goal recommendation. But to get to your core question point, Mr. Mabin, going forward in our analysis, if we have the name of the contractor, we will provide that as well, along with the goals and the other information that you're hearing on the historical data. So we'll add that to the report going forward, if that will help some, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
I think that would be extremely important to be able to have that information to make sure that we're not skewing what we think the possibilities are. That would help us in the future. Next project.
The next project is EV 2817, pump repair service and purchase. Estimated cost $4 million annually. Is the project leader here to present on this?
Yes, this is Daryl Everett with Procurement Services. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. Daryl Everett with Procurement Services. And this goal request before you, EV 2817, is an IDIQ contract, which is indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract, which means there's no fixed amount that we know for sure the contract will be utilized for. It's a contract that's primarily used by Water Services, but sometimes used by the Park Department. The department will use the contract to provide pump removal and or replacement at the vast majority of the work. The second aspect of the scope is to perform actual repair of a malfunction pump. And I have both Brent Herring from the Water Services Department online, likely to speak to some technical details that may come up. But regarding the contract, the IDIQ contract, we will award this contract to 5 to 6 different general contractors, similar to the current contract that's set to expire. And that $4 million estimated annually would be spread across these 5 to 6 general contractors that would be awarded an IDIQ contract. And this contract would also have potentially 5 additional one-year renewals. And during that renewal process is where we work with HRD to verify the previous year whether or not the prime contractor has met the goals assigned to them during that contract year, and to renew the contract or not based on the performance of that year for that particular prime contractor. And at this time, I'll take any questions, or if Brent Herring want to add anything.
No, I'm good to go. I'm ready for questions. Glad to meet you all on the board, Mr. Chairman.
Glad to meet you. We're going to go ahead to the HRD departments if there are no questions at this time.
I did have a question, Ray. What does that $720,000 represent? What scopes of work?
I'll take this one, Daryl. So the scope
$720,000 for DBE. What contractors will be recruited for that?
I can think of a couple that the vendors use currently on existing contracts. Sander Mechanical, YTech. There's some others, and it depends on the nature of the project at the time. We have 350 pumps in the system across 50 some odd facilities. And when they can be repaired, because they're not exceeded their shelf life, if you will, or the life of the unit, then those services.
What I was getting at is whether it was electrical work, mechanical work, or what.
It's generally electrical and controls type work. It can be structural work if we remove a pump and we need to take care of some base concrete, or we need to re-pour it because the application, the new unit now is not what the old one was, because one can't buy it anymore. So there's a number of related specialties, but they're all small in nature at the time.
Thank you.
Okay. HRD.
The project leader came in at 18 and 0. HRD evaluated, it came in at 10 and 5 with availability in the areas of remove and replace existing pump on the MBE side for 400,000 and on the W 200,000 for 5%. According to the two current open contracts, the first one was Mid-America Pump. That contract is still in progress. The goals were 10 and 5. And again, as I said, it was still in progress. It's at 7 and 0. And the second one, the prime is FTC Equipment LLC. The award amount was $5 million, and the goals were 10 and 5, still in progress. It's at 7 and 0. If I did not mention the first one, it's at $6 million, and this one's at $5 million.
Okay.
And that concludes our report.
Do you have any
Are there any
idea?
questions for Mr. Randolph?
Do you
Go ahead,
have
Bridget.
Do you have any idea what percentage of the project, those two projects, are complete?
That would be, I believe, Daryl, would you happen to know?
Yeah, that would likely be multiple small projects. None of that is going to be a single. This is an IDIQ. They can have several projects that take place that accompany that $5 million that he mentioned. Those are never going to be a single project.
Some of them are completed in part of the whole. Any other questions?
I just want to caution, having participated and watched transportation and infrastructure, that they're really coming down hard on your contract, particularly, what's this one, 5 years?
Potentially 6. But not guaranteed. Only thing guaranteed is 1. They have to be evaluated to be renewed after 1 year.
So they're coming down hard, particularly hard on multi-year contracts where goals are set at the beginning of the, prior to the contract, and there's no opportunity to reevaluate and increase if there is opportunity. So they held 5 projects this week.
Yeah. What is the pleasure of the Richard? What's the pleasure of City Council for these to be reviewed annually?
Yes, and go ahead.
I'm sorry. Which they are currently. Procurement and HRD evaluates these contracts annually prior to awarding a additional renewal year.
So I guess maybe I'm not stating it correctly. they not only want them reviewed annually, they believe there should be an opportunity to increase the goals in that review. And the way it stands, if we approve a multi-year contract, particularly 6 years, let's say we did it at 10 and 5, what you're reviewing is to make sure that they're at the 10 and 5. There's no opportunity to change the goals. So, you know, I would just caution and these were, I believe, Philip, if you're on the line, these were, I think, 3-year renewals. So a 6-year renewal at $4 million.
Yes. Bridget, yeah, this is Philip. I'm on the line. Before I get to that particular answer, Daryl, can you explain to the board the length of terms or the terms that the city currently have in place for contracts? Like, how long can we renew a contract? I know you guys worked on that maybe a year or so ago in terms of reducing the number of years we can go out, but what types of contracts you can go out on? That's one. And getting back to what Bridget is asking about the opportunity to review at the end of that year to possibly increase the goals. Can you talk, one, about the city's process for length of terms of contracts, and 2, how we would go about reviewing for additional goals at the end of that year?
Well, specifically to the code allows the city to enter into a contract maximum of 6 years without council approval. Anything beyond 6 years has to go to council for approval. So these indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts, or time and material type of contracts are beneficial and useful for the city for those as needed type of facility maintenance and repair needs, because we just don't have the resources to bid everything that's $20, $30, $40, $50,000 per task order. Far too many resources to bid all that out as an SLBE. Just doesn't make sense. So the amount of resources it would take to bid out every single task order for an electrical or an HVAC or several of those IDIQ contracts that we have, the purpose of them is for departments to get small task orders done quickly, with knowing that there's goals tied to those contracts. I understand the concern of renewing them and whether or not there's opportunities to increase goals annually. As it relates to the process, as I stated earlier, procurement and HRD evaluates the contracts annually. I understand the concern with an opportunity to increase. We can have some discussion with HRD about that aspect of making it known that not only will we evaluate the renewal for the contract based on the performance, we may also submit it for a request for reevaluation if it appears that the marketplace supports the idea of increasing goals. So we wouldn't be opposed to that. We would just have to put a mechanism in place to understand how do we work with HRD to do that evaluation of modifying the after each renewal year, because we have a new automated system that sends a notification to the supplier as well as HRD, informing everyone that we're 120 days away from a contract renewal. Everyone start evaluating the position that the city or HRD has as it relates to the performance against those contracts. So we have a solid process in place. But if the idea from the council and the board is to put a little bit more meat to evaluating annually how well the contractor is performing and an opportunity to increase, that can be evaluated and determined how we make that happen.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
You know, we have struggled with these contracts for some time, especially, Bridget, when you look at a contract like this where there's very limited scopes of opportunities for minority and women inclusion. But on the other side of that, since there are a bunch of smaller projects, I think whoever the general is has more opportunities to be inclusive. This is an area where we ought to be very specific about final closeouts when these projects come back if the contractor has not achieved them. Basically, it's a little mechanical work and electrical work, and we have availability both on the minority and the woman side. So we don't want a big goal on it because it's limited, but 10 and 5, given the opportunities to meet it, they should be achieved every time. Just a comment.
Yeah, I totally agree. If there's
Chair, may I
availability.
make a comment?
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
Mr.
Go right
Chair,
ahead.
Bob Lohman, may I make a comment?
Please do.
Joe, your comments are on point. The issue that I've got with this job is they don't have a single general contractor. It's awarded to 5 or 6 different contractors that I'm assuming on whatever relationship they have with a contractor that day is who they call to do the IDIQ work. And so that's how you get participation. You have Alexander on the list and you call him up to be able to get 10% of the work done. This is a goofy setup with the fact that it's not one contract award, which makes it even more dangerous to set goals on.
Well,
Can I
I'm
for
sorry,
a clarification, please?
Go right ahead, Gabe.
I understand what we're assuming, that there'll be 5 to 6 different contractors, which implies 5 to 6 different prime contractors. But historically, has that been the case, or is there really 1 or 2 contractors?
I can speak to that if you all, Mr. Chairman, would like some additional detail.
Yes, please do.
It's not general contractors in the sense of when we think about general contractors. These are specialty pump manufacturers that provide a line of pumps, and it's territory driven by the manufacturer. You can't buy from the manufacturer. You have to buy through a manufacturer's rep. The manufacturer's rep reps X number of lines. It's a healthy competitive market here. And so if we were to have only 1 or 2 and we needed another type of pump to do a like replacement, we'd end up paying more for it. Now, that's the nature of the way the business is. And the way that work is given out, we ensure that we use, to Mr. Luhman's comment, we ensure we use everybody equally. When you've got 343 pumps and various controls and so forth, if that application was with a pump provided by Company A is the one who services and maintains that unit. If we need that kind of service other than, say, routine preventative maintenance. And if we have an opportunity to look at a different application because we have changed circumstances, flows have changed, any of a number of things, or one cannot buy that pump anymore, then in-house, we have engineering take a look at it and determine what other options would be cost-effective and efficient. And then we'll go out with, we'll talk to that supplier, but typically there's more than one, and then we go out and we ask for prices to meet a spec for that repair and replacement. It's not a bid thing so much as it is, here's what we got, here's what we can use here, here's what fits technically, here's what the changed circumstances were, and how can you help us, and what is that price going to be? What can you provide, and what is that price going to be? It might be an upright centrifugal as opposed to an axial flow pump, for example. So to that extent,
it doesn't impede that contractor, whoever he is, of doing 10 and 5.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. I agree.
The job that he uses, we got all kinds of electrical contractors, minority and women.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
I'll ask again then. Historically, do we have the same people, whether we want to call them general contractors, manufacturers, or primes, performing the work on a yearly basis over 5 or 6 projects, whatever it is? And my point is, in past, we've had a problem with renewable contracts, that it's really just renewable to whoever that person is, and there's no competitive bid process for anyone else.
Well, I'd suggest there's two parts. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Brent.
I'd suggest there's two parts to that question. Every year with the renewal, of course, General Services assesses the proposed, whatever a particular vendor would have proposed for year base plus in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's not entirely a given that it continues in the same manner that it did, because procurement can always say, no, that's not what we're going to do, and we're continuing what we did last year. The second part of that is, because it is indefinite quantity, indefinite time. We may have, last year when the river was up and we had significant groundwater infiltration, inflow, a lot of rain, we had a lot of work going on. This year we haven't had quite that amount of work going on because it's a drier season. So while it might be up to some amount, it may only be that we need 3 or 4. And again, the criteria, who gets the work, who is selected for the work, and on the basis of keeping them somewhat even, is who provided that install originally, who is the authorized factory representative for that particular manufacturer. So it goes around in those, whoever the authorized IDIQ contractors are, and depending on what the install is and where. Some of these folks have been in business a very long time in the city.
Well, I just, just based on the conversations that we've had since I've been attending these meetings, it is the annual renewals that are causing the issues in a lot of these. And I think 6 years is a long time to award, regardless of what the percentage is. We have no idea what it's going to look like in 2026. By 2026. That is a long time.
Especially when it's conditioned by the conditions of the weather as well.
Because there's no guarantee on this contract. They may get $1 million, they may get 0, to Brent's point.
Yes.
We may not have any work.
Right.
But it doesn't matter what they get as long as they do the 10 and 5 is the point I'm trying to make. You've got very limited areas. So I'm not concerned about who put it in originally and they go back to repair it, as long as they repair it with minority and women. And if we're setting a goal based on availability, part of that availability are the scopes available to minority and women.
Yes.
Well, but according to this sheet, one of the scopes has no availability.
Right. The repair. But there is availability in the largest one. So I'm saying I don't see the problem as the number of contractors or suppliers actually performing the work. The problem is whether or not they're inclusive for where there is availability.
And
apparently,
I guess
some mechanical work and electrical work.
Well, I see the problem in not only whether or not they're using minorities and women, it's the fact that in 4 years, there could be an opportunity to use more minorities and women. And if we approve a 6-year annual agreement, we don't have the ability to change that goal.
No.
Can I make a comment?
Sure, go right ahead.
Those contracts are normally mutually agreeable, so I don't think there's any obligation for the city to renew it, is there?
Exactly. Nope.
Okay, so if there was a disparity
option.
study that came out 3 years from now that said we should have 28 and 20, the city could just opt to not renew it.
Correct.
Because it's mutually agreeable.
And how often has that happened?
I don't know the answer
Never.
to that. I just know that the contractual terms are.
In many cases, we don't renew when the contractor is not performing their goals. We choose not to renew when they're not performing their CUP approved goals or their HRD approved or Fairness Construction Board approved goals. That's the most common reason we won't approve a renewal outside of performance issues if they're just not performing the work correctly. But if they're meeting the goals and the work is being performed to the satisfaction of the department who requested the work, in many cases we would renew that.
And you could confirm for me,
cases
Daryl.
where you- Go
You
ahead.
could confirm, Daryl, but I believe that we started with 7 on this when the term was base plus 4, and we ended up with 6 at some point. So
correct.
I don't know what the reasons were, but I suspect it was because they were not performing to the terms of the contract.
Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse because we're already way long into this meeting. Clearly, I'm the minority in this belief, no pun intended. But, I mean, I would be willing to entertain whoever wants to make about it. I think that 6 years is a long time.
But do we have any say-so there, Bridget? I mean, other than a recommendation?
I think
That's
we
the
could.
council decision.
I
Isn't that
think
the
we
council
could.
decision?
I think
Yeah,
we could. I think we could submit an annual. The problem with it is what happened at Transportation and Infrastructure this week. We made our goal recommendations. Those goals went out in bid packages. They've now come to the council for approval, and they're being held up because they're multi-year agreements and may have to go back out for bid.
Excuse me, this is Matt Bond, Deputy Director for Water. Can I make a quick comment? Yes, Ms. Williams, the 2 water services contracts that went out yesterday, one was for a pavement restoration with a single renewal, and the other one was a longer term renewal with multiple years. We've had the conversations with TIO before about the reason for multiple year contracts. So I would suggest that not inform all of this. This is an IDIQ, which is different than those 2 that were there yesterday for water services. The conversation is continuing on those 2 ordinances. So I would keep this in the frame of IDIQs for this type of maintenance contract. I know that for the type of repair and rehabilitation contracts that we did take to TIO yesterday, we often do not renew those contracts, but we'll have additional conversations on that type of contract. But this is an IDIQ, so it is just a bit.
So can I just clarify, because we continue to hear this. I know I'm a woman, but I'm not stupid. And everybody keeps acting like we don't know what we're talking about and we're not a part of this industry. I watched the meeting yesterday. I'm getting calls from council people wanting our input on this. I understand what these scopes of work and what is in this contract and what is in this document and what they mean. So you can't separate one from the other. Now, we're all entitled to an opinion, and I'm happy to, take a motion under consideration. But I just want to say for the record, this board is not filled with a bunch of dummies. We do understand this industry. We live it.
Not intending to be disrespectful.
No, and it's not just you, but I've heard it at least 3 times this meeting, and I'm tired of it.
Thank you, Bridget. And you wanted to comment? Was there a rebuttal? If there was no rebuttal, I definitely understand exactly what we're up against with these multi-year contracts and the inability to be able to change when the circumstances change. And exactly as this one here is shown by HRD, the repaired existing malfunction pumps no availability. What if availability comes available next year or the year after? So there are some problems with these multi-year projects, and how we'll get to go on those is to come. We'll probably have to be called before the council to testify. We set these and what our recommendations will be going forward. But for right now,
We have been called to the council, and we'll talk about that after
and
this.
we will have to,
Yes.
and we will have to testify, particularly based upon some of the information that was given by the department on today. And we'll probably be using a portion of that. But for this project, if the board so will, to make a motion on this project before we go to council, or do you want to set it aside until after we go to council? The decision is up to you, board. You're here to maintain a respectable, achievable, and a defendable goal.
Well, Bob,
I think Bridget's entirely right that we need to address that second issue. But basically, the availability is not going to change, nor the scopes of work.
No. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept 10 and 5.
There's a motion on the floor to accept HRD's motion of 10 and 5. Is there a second?
I will second that.
I will
Mr.
second.
Chairman.
This is Loman.
It's been seconded by Bob Lohman. Moved by Joseph Mavis, seconded by Bob Lohman. All in favor by name? We have the two
Perez,
proposers
aye.
as two. Perez, go ahead, Lohman. Anyone else?
McGreevy, aye.
Aye.
Greavy, aye. Okay, we have 5 ayes. Is there any opposers? Are there any opposers?
Bridget, no.
Bridget, nay.
Bridget,
So
we
noted.
got to separate these. We really do. And I hear you, and I with you.
Joe,
But,
my issue is not the 10 and 5, and it not even the subsequent issue of the multi-year. My issue is to set a 10 and 5 goal for 6 years, not knowing what the market will be. And honestly, there are 2 scopes of work laid out in here, but there's got to be more that they're doing than just removing and replacing an existing pump. I mean, there's got to be work that surrounds that.
Electrical, mechanical, plumbing.
Yes. And so I just think we're doing the industry a disservice on that. But
Well, how do we address the 6-year renewal? And at the same time, this specialized work, I don't think 10 and 5 is unfair at all. Especially given the way the work is let and performed. But I think there's no question that what we're setting here can be met. But how do we do both? Do we make a comment to the council? We will be called before the council. I mean, how do we come to some agreement about how to address the 6-year renewal? Because we have fought this one for years.
I think the multi-year issue is definitely a council decision. They have to set, they have to signal or set some kind of rule of what that entails. That's not as much my issue. My issue is that we're putting a 10 and 5. I think we have the ability to say, we're going to set 10 and 5 the first year, but we want you to come back after the first year so we can review and evaluate, and we'll set a goal based on that. I mean, I think we need to, if we're going before the council on these issues, and that might even mean the goals may go down. It just depends on the market. But we need to have the ability we should be more than just setting a goal. once we set a goal, there's been no follow-up. We don't know what's happening with these contracts once they're awarded. And I think we've got to get our arms around this. You know, the Department of Justice announced yesterday they're investigating the program.
Yeah. You know, I think there are two issues, Bridget, you're right. Joe, you're right. There are two issues that are at hand here. One is going to take the council to look at this project and others of this nature to help us to be able to decide how the ordinance is going to address this going forward. I think that is a definite must, and I think the department is correct in questioning some of these issues. But I think we also have the ability to be able to explain to the point where we have set goals and the concerns that we have with setting goals such as this going forward. For the record, this IDIQ has been approved, and the goals are set at 10 and 6, 10 and 5, just for the record. And I want to say this also, as this project goes out to the industry, we're not asking them to look at the goals that we have set here and make their determinations based upon that. Because again, once this goes out, the contractor might see whether it's electrical, mechanical, and plumbing. So we don't want him to use this to say this is the only place that you can achieve this, because he might be able to achieve something that has to be moved, hauled, hoisted, or whatever under other different circumstances. And means and methods are the contractors, and who he uses to achieve these goals is up to the contractor. HRD is right here to help the contractor to be able to meet those goals. But the questions that we have is how can we adequately live with multi-year goals? We're living in an ever-changing industry. And I think that's the biggest issue that Bridget is talking about here on today. And we will need some direction for council on setting that. We do have one other project. I don't know if the contractor came in, which is project number 2. Project
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman. May I make a statement?
Please do.
This is a pumping replacement job. In the world of mechanical contracting,
Yes.
a contractor is going to come in, yank it out, and do the electrical and plumbing and everything. The only way we're going to get minority or women participation on a job like this is if you hire a minority or woman plumber. And there are plenty of them. So there are opportunities to do that, though they may not be acknowledged by the supplier of the pump as a certified agent. So there's the rub. We may not be able to modify the goals or the participation unless more contractors that are minority or women get certified to work on a given pump. So this is not a complex project.
Bob, I thank you for your input, because this is the contractors in which you represent it, and it's better for you to speak on some of these issues to help us to better understand as well. Are there any other comments?
To extrapolate that,
If
if you're going to do city work, you need to make sure you reach out and find minorities that can get certified. I'm saying we can't let them say, well, there's nobody out there, so it can't be achieved.
If the contractor wants these type of projects, he will be the ones who will reach out.
Yeah.
And make that happen. I have seen it happen before. I have seen it happen time and time again. Mentor protege programs are here, and so many other initiatives are here to help to increase the availability on M and WBE sides if the initiative and the care to do so is there. Thank you, Bob. Going back to HRD, did you come up with anyone to present on the project number 89004803?
Chad, are you back with us? Sam Arkulu, are you with us? Public Works. For the Italian chair, it does not sound like they have joined us.
Okay, we will set this project aside if that be the The motion of the board. We have no one to do presentation to us. Board, what's your pleasure? You want to take it as it
Loman.
is, or do you want to set it aside until the next project? Mr. Loman.
Loman moves to set it aside.
Bob Loman has moved to set project number aside. It's been
Bridget.
seconded by Mrs. Williams. All in favor?
Aye.
Perez, aye.
Loman,
McGreevy,
aye.
aye.
Bridget, aye.
One more,
I think everybody said that.
Ms. McGreevy.
Oh, McGreevy, aye.
Oh, I didn't hear Mr. McGreevy. Thank you. I have to try to recognize your voices, but I prefer for you to say by name. If I don't hear you, I think I know about everybody's voice. Okay, this concludes the project for today. Let's move on into other business.
Mr.
If
Malone,
there's
this
no
is
other
Kim.
business, go right ahead.
Mr. Malone, hi. I received
Yes.
a notification from one of the attendees that they wanted to make public comment. Is that
Okay.
something that you will be, okay, the attendee is Christine Gunter. I don't know what she wants to make a comment about, but I thought I'd ask you.
Well, we're
Are you
not
accepting it?
under public comment yet.
Who's she representing?
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
Gunter, yeah.
Mr.
Ms. Williams is correct. We
Go
hadn't
right
got
ahead.
that.
Yes.
You have other business and new business on your agenda, then you get to your public comment, if that's okay. In terms
Yes.
of, and so I don't think we have any other business to bring to the board. We do have some new business we need to make the board aware of. As Ms. Williams indicated at the Transportation Infrastructure Committee on Wednesday, the mayor, as well as some of the other council members, requested that a representative from the Fairness and Construction Board, along with HRD, appear at the business session on Thursday. I think it's at 1:30. I get the exact time, to discuss how the goals are established on these projects. And so, Mr. Chair and board, you will need to designate someone, or how you would like to have that representative, who you would like to have that representative appear at the business session next Thursday.
Thank you. I will be speaking to the board to see who will be our representative. And that time is 3 o'clock.
No, sir. No, sir. It's at 1:30, but we'll get you the exact time and the location, because sometimes it does move, but it's usually always virtual or on 26, but we'll get you the exact location here in City Hall where that meeting will take place.
And we will be testifying virtually.
You can testify virtual, you can testify in person. It's just left up to you and the board how you want to do that, sir.
All right, thank you. Any other new business?
Well, Mr. Chair, I just want to add on to that, because what you guys need to be aware of is there was really several innuendos. One is that that the board is solely basing goals, the establishment of goals, on past practice, on historical data, which is not true. The data that we're looking at is actually current data based on a number of factors. The second was there was clearly a veil threat around if the goals aren't unilaterally increased, that there could be some movement of individuals. And, you know, we need to be clear in this, particularly now with the Department of Justice investigation, that we're not pulling numbers out of the air just to satisfy people, that there is actually a law in place that governs why and how we're doing what we're doing. And so I think as one of those reasons, we need to see if we can get Colette to attend this meeting next week, because I think the board is the council is treading on very dangerous ground and they're about to get the program dismantled.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Mr.
What-
Chair,
what- Go ahead.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, in following up with the recommendation from Ms. Williams, I can definitely reach out and try and make that happen and let you know something here. If not by tomorrow evening, at least by Monday morning, her availability.
When that's done, Bridget, will you be the one who bring her up to speed with what we're dealing with?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Please keep us informed. There might be required a meeting of the board to discuss this matter beforehand, and if that has to take place, will there need to be a public hearing on that? Because it will be virtual.
I think, Mr. Chair, and I think Dustin may be on the phone, you can always go into closed session and discuss items. Obviously, we would have to make a public notice that you are meeting, but you can always go into closed session for items that you want to discuss. So I know we would have to notice up as a public meeting, but you have the ability to go into closed session and discuss issues as well. So you could still obtain what you are trying to do here, sir, with a closed session meeting.
Well, they have to be legitimate, legal, or procurement, or we can't just go into closed session because we don't want anybody to hear. But I think.
No, but we could go.
But
can
I
we
think.
go into a legal sidebar?
Yes.
It would be based on.
Can I just chime in? This is Dustin. Bridget, I'm going to send you my hourly pay because you're exactly right. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Dustin.
But
Check's
again,
in the mail.
the board can go into legal sidebar if we have specific agenda.
Yeah, and if you have
With
questions,
counsel.
feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. I'm not sure exactly what you'd like to discuss, and this is outside of legal opinion, but I think the council really just desires a better understanding about kind of your thought process. And I do feel like if they do have a better understanding, a lot of the fears they have will be alleviated. But that's just completely outside neutral perspective. So
I agree with that, Dustin. I think it's understanding, it's education, it's all of those things. And it may be worthwhile for at least the, foreseeable future to make sure that we have someone from Fairness present at those committee meetings, because I think they held at least 5 projects because of goals, and one project they tried to increase the goal from the floor, and you can't. So it's there needs to be a clear legal training, but they also need to understand the basis by which this program was established and their legal ramifications.
That's very true. That's a very dangerous move, just to increase the goal without any supporting data.
Mm-hmm.
It won't stand constitutional muster.
Absolutely not. And that's one thing that we get it struck down. Got to be very careful with something like that. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, is there anything else? If not, is there anything else before the body that you want to discuss before we have public comments?
What about this challenge to our program? I didn't find it in the paper. I'm a dinosaur. I don't read the paper online.
So Mr. Maven, we received a notice about a challenge from DOJ, but beyond that, that's really all we can comment on at this time in terms of the specifics. We would definitely probably want to have a closed session to talk more about the specific details.
When was that received?
I was made aware of it yesterday evening.
Okay.
Well, what's the status of the other challenge?
Well, Joe, I think all of this needs to be discussed in closed session.
Thank you.
In
And
terms
I think
of
you
the
ought to
session.
represent us at T&I too, by the way, Bridget.
Oh, you guys just want people to hate me. I'm such a nice person.
Well, you definitely make a better friend.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
I would have specific questions that would be more appropriate in the closed session.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I would recommend if we go to public testimony and then go into closed session real quick.
Okay.
Excuse me, Bridget. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we set up to go in closed session today because Kim, can you tell me that? Kim Daniels.
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, are we available to go in closed session? Would you be able to remove?
Yeah, I can remove participants. Yes, I can remove participants. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, just for a point of record, we should always be prepared to go into closed session.
Yes. Okay. All right, let's move forward. Until then, we want to go ahead with public, any public testimonies, and then we'll go forward. So,
I was informed that the person who had public comment no longer wanted to, so let somebody else do it.
Okay. All right, fine. If there's no public testimony.
This is Adrian. May I say something?
Yes, go right ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time learning with everybody and serving on the Fairness and Construction Board. And I'm sure the two representatives, Kara and Sonia, will do a very good job. And but I wanted to say thank you so much to Bob and Ed and Skip and Joe and Gabe. Ed and Bridget for your patience as I was going through my learning curve, and that's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. It's been an interesting ride.
Yes, it has.
Yes, you have a good holiday and stay safe.
Absolutely. You guys keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other comments, our next meeting is scheduled for January the 14th, 2021. We'll look forward to seeing you at that time. So at this time, we'll be adjourned.
Well, I make a motion, we go into closed session.
Okay, we're adjourned from regular session. We make a motion on the floor to go into closed session. All in favor?
I will second that.
Second, Joe, second it. All in favor?
And you have to do a roll call.
Okay, by roll call, all in favor?
Perez, aye.
Roman, aye.
Bridget, aye.
McGreevy, aye.
Sonia, aye.
Sonia can't vote.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Thanks for your effort, though. So we're going into closed session at this time. It's been approved by the board to go into closed session. All in favor? All of it voted aye. So we're in closed session. Who wants to take it from here? Dustin, do you want to give us any
Mr.
directions?
Malone, if I could,
I'm sorry,
Malone, I
Mr.
need to,
Malone.
I need
Give
to
us a
go ahead
second.
and, yeah,
Remove
I
the
need to go through the
folks.
attendance list, please. Thank you.
Give us a sec to remove the folks who shouldn't.
Oh,
be.
ready. Okay.
HRD staff, Kim, you need to remove.
I'm trying to remove everybody else, then I'll remove myself.
Okay. Is Dustin still there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, we're into closed session. So
No,
for
no,
the
sir, just
record,
No, we're not yet. They're still
not yet.
removing
not
people.
yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me know
I
then
need
when
to
we do our phone numbers.
confirm. I need to confirm the phone numbers of who are on the board that need to stay in. I have several numbers, and I don't know who they belong to. The first one is the last four digits is 2793.
That's Maven.
Okay, I'll keep you in. The next phone number, the last four digits is 3757.
That's Perez. That's me.
Okay, thank you. The next number, I know this one, I'll get rid of it. That's one of our numbers. Oh, wait a minute. Mr. Yelder, what number are you calling from?
I think I'm on the, I'm on my computer.
Okay, you're on your computer. Last four digits, 7565.
That's Bob Lohman.
Okay. And then the last four digits, 8490.
That's me, Dustin.
Okay. I think that is, yeah, I'm looking at it. It's just you all. So I will go ahead and sign off.
Okay. I have Loman, Bridget, Perez, Maven, and McGreedy.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone?
Is Greenwell off?
Yeah, he
Donna,
had
you
to
here?
leave.
Oh,
Yeah.
he left. Yeah, he
Okay.
left at 3:30.
Who's Sonia
Sonia,
Garafity?
are you taking the place of McGreedy?
No, Sonia is the second for the women.
Okay, Sonia
Right,
should
she's
still
the
be on.
alternate.
Yeah. She's the alternate.
But I didn't hear McGreedy.
McGreevy's here.
Okay, got it. I had to write these down. Okay. Have you removed everyone with the exception of the board participants?
Yes, sir, Mr. Maven. I'm sorry, Mr. Malone. I think you just have your board, Dustin, and myself on here now.
Okay. All right. Who wants to take over the session from here?
So Mr. Malone and members of the board, as Bridget indicated yesterday, the city received a letter from the Department of Justice indicating that they were going to launch an investigation into our contracting and procurement program. They cited the fact that they believe that the city had violated, I think it was Title VII regarding contracting opportunities. And they also cited the fact that, they believe that we had, not let contracts out in equal, compared with equal employment opportunity laws. That was the basis of the letter. It was like a 2 or 3 page paragraph. It wasn't a lengthy letter, just those were the areas that they cited. The mayor has been informed. I know various council members has been informed. Our legal team has been also informed and preparing a response. I seen some email traffic last night from, national news organizations and reporters. How they got it, I don't know, but maybe when DOJ puts something out there, it goes to everybody. I don't know, but anyway, we started receiving inquiries from folks, NPR, different places all over the country about what was going on in our response. I know the city's communication office has sent a, kind of a press release to all these folks, but that's where we are right now. I haven't received anything in terms of information. I know they're going to be asking for information about how we go about doing stuff. I just don't know what that looks like at this point. I have not received anything to say specifically what they're going to be looking for. And Dustin, unless you got something different, you may want to add to it.
The only thing I'll add is you're exactly right. The next stage typically is an RFI, request for information. There might be requests for depositions of individuals. That's really all we know at this stage is what was in that letter, which is Philip said is pretty sparse. And then the press release that they put out. So the only other thing I think I'll add is they cited both the MBE WBE program as well as the workforce program in their letter. Although they misstated the code section, I think we can infer from their incorrect code section that they're talking about workforce as well.
And this is stemming from the Shaw lawsuit?
Not that we know of. A pretty blanket statement that, we feel like we might be in violation of the section that Philip cited, and it could have. From what we know, it has nothing to do with personal net worth test, anything like that. So,
in a nutshell, what is Title 7 in a nutshell?
Just anti-discrimination in contracting, especially which they're entitled to do if we accept federal funds, which we do for certain projects.
Do we think
So-
it has anything to do
Do
with
we
the
know,
airport?
do we know where the complaint originated? Because I'm assuming DOJ doesn't look into something unless they have a complaint from an individual or party.
Right.
We
So
don't.
someone, I'm sure someone, we don't know that. I don't know if they will provide us that information. Maybe at some point in time down the road, we'll find out who launched the complaint or who alleged the complaint. At this point in time, nothing was identified in the letter that says, hey, this person or this organization said that you guys are not doing this right or correct or whatever that looks like. To Bridget's question, does this have to do, it may be, and it, but right now we can't say with 100% certainty, if this was not kind of another, let's say, type of allegation to put more pressure on the city. I don't know, but we do know that, they wouldn't probably have done this without someone saying that there was a problem or they believe there was a problem.
Justin, can we request that information? I would certainly love to give anybody credit.
Yeah, it's kind of outside of the normal litigation. We don't really have any rights. They request information of us. We provide it as much as we can. We kind of went through this with our violations of the Clean Water Act, and we have, you all probably know better than anybody, pretty significant water services projects in order to fulfill our obligations under that consent decree. It's kind of the same structure we'd follow. Is they're requesting information, we provide whatever they want, and then we see where we go from there. We might have a better idea of where this comes from or what they're thinking once we get the request for information. But right now, since we don't have it, we really are in the dark as far as what, what they're after.
Will our disparity study consultant be involved in our defense?
It is our goal.
I mean,
yes,
if we call
yes,
an expert witness, yeah, that's somebody we would probably rely on if it came to something like that. But it's very different than a litigation context. It's more, they're after us. We don't really have a whole lot. It's not before an arbitrator or anything like that.
So what you're saying is it's very subjective?
Yeah, and I mean, at least the initial part, they're kind of in a fact finding. We just don't have any authority to ask of them documentation. Usually when you're in a lawsuit, it's, someone's accusing you of doing something wrong. You have the right to request documentation of them. With a DOJ, it doesn't look like that. They ask whatever they want to of us, and as things progress, we're kind of on the defensive more than typical.
Justin, have the other lawsuits with Staco, et cetera, have they been settled? Are they finished? Are they still in progress? Do we know the status of those?
Yeah, so they're still in progress. We filed for Staco. We had some brief settlement discussions, but we're on track. We've gone through kind of the discoveries processes where we're still at. We're set for trial in August of 2021. For Mark 1, they filed a request. We were successful. We've been successful in everything that's gone on in both lawsuits so far. Not, a total, win or anything like that. But as far as discovery disputes, of evidentiary disputes, we've been successful in all of our arguments. For Mark 1, they'd requested a temporary restraining order in order to essentially to stay in the program. We won in our motion there. They just a week or two ago filed a request to stay in, kind of a longer term. less abbreviated, I guess, than a TRO. And we filed our suggestions in opposition just last week for that. I believe there's a hearing on that on December 17th or 18th. Unfortunately, with litigation, things just move so slowly. We're kind of still where we're at. Last time we talked about, at least Staco, I don't think we've talked about Mark 1 at all, really, but things are progressing in both of them. I don't think we'll probably settle with either one of them, but you never know. Subject to council, changing their mind essentially, or agreeable terms really is what it comes down to. Right now, we're just not really agreeing to anything they're asking. So.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll also add, if any of you are interested and want to kill a few hours of your time for probably no reason, I'm happy to send in any pleadings or anything like that. I'm happy to circulate those. They're not probably the most interesting things, but I'm always happy to do that. They're publicly available records, so just let me know.
Okay, are there any other questions? Comments?
I move that we, Bob, were you going to say something?
Nope.
I move that we come out of closed session.
That's the motion on the floor to remove us from closed session. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved by Bridget Williams, a second by Bob Lomas to come out of closed session. All in favor? By name.
Bridget, aye.
Gabe, aye.
McGreevy, aye.
Or Joe, you still with us?
Yes, aye.
Okay, we had 5 ayes, all in favor. We're out of closed session.
I move that we adjourn.
We are adjourned. It's been moved that
Well,
we
next
adjourn.
next meeting date is
January the 14th, 2021.
McGreevy.
I just wanted to hear you say 2021, Mr. Chair.
Welcome,
Mr.
Kara.
Chair. Mr.
Yeah.
Chair.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I probably won't get a chance to see any of you all before the Christmas and New Year's. Just want to say thank you all so much for all your service this year. Thank you all for the support of the department, the city, our minority women contractors. Welcome our new board members. And as always, there's anything, you see that we need to help make your job a lot easier, more efficient, please let us know. We are still trying to put together this special kind of retreat for the board that you all had talked about. And maybe with the new members, we can all get together and kind of talk offline through these issues that you all wanted to talk about. And so I guess we'll push for that now for maybe the first of the year to make that happen, to talk through these processes and these analysis and all this kind of good stuff that you all are looking at on a month-to-month basis. But overall, I just want to say thank you all so much for your support. And I wish all of you all a Merry Christmas and a most prosperous and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Philip. And for us not having a Christmas party, it should be very easy to give all your staff a bonus.
Right.
McGreevy.
Yes.
Remember me to your mother. Tell her I'm still using materials from her workshop with my membership.
Oh, when she was at Stinson or at Hush?
Hush Steffenberger.
Yep.
But she
Well,
had
that's
these
fantastic.
That was Hush. And tell her Ray Malone said hello. She was my attorney for many years, ever since she was a representative, just like you are.
Fantastic. No, I keep a lot of her laminated sheets in my file folder for when clients have questions regarding lien rights and payments and all sorts of things. You go, let me just send you this quickly.
There you go.
Tell Kevin hello also.
Absolutely, will do.
Good night.
You guys have a Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Merry Christmas, one and all.
You too.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas all.
Bridget, I'll talk to you soon.